Hello guys, I'm Pearl Mudiadie and welcome to the first episode of My Future, My Career.
And I am Zola. My Future, My Career is proudly brought to you by Nedbank.
This Nedbank initiative is aimed at equipping you with tools to make informed choices when it comes to choosing your career.
We'll take an in-depth look at different careers and we chat to industry experts in different career fields.
Now today we kick off with careers in the banking industry.
Careers in banking. I don't know, like Paul, I know of two jobs in banking, a teller and the bank manager.
Zola, that's what you see when you walk into a branch, but the career possibilities in banking are endless. You can pursue a career in traditional banking, specialized banking and assurance.
Well, with that said, let's have a look at today's awesome lineup.
We kick off with a very special message from the man himself, Mike Brown, CEO of Nedbank.
If you plan carefully, set goals for yourself, and then work hard to achieve these, you can be anything you want to be.
First up, we chat to seasoned and world-class HR professional, Mpho Nyachiyombo.
Then we find out about some high-octane careers from Z Hadith, the head of specialized training programs for Nedbank.
Do your homework, visit career centers, and really make sure that you're following a path that you're passionate about. Because if that passion is not there, you're not going to enjoy your career.
All that and more on the show today.
Do you have big dreams of pursuing your ideal career but don't have the financial means?
Then check out the bursary info in your booklet to find out the many ways in which you can get funds to study.
Definitely. So in 3,
2,
1, let's go.
Hello, my name is Mike Brown, and I'm the CEO or Chief Executive Officer of Nedbank. And I'm here today to talk to you about careers. Selecting a career for yourself can be a very confusing process. Now that you are in secondary school, you are expected to begin carving a path for your future. The difficulty is that at this point in your life, some of you might not have enough information or experience to make the right choice, and careers themselves are changing rapidly as technology evolves. I was fortunate enough to pursue a career I felt passionately about, but I was in a way lucky to start down the right path. Influenced more by what some friends were doing and what my parents thought than through any formal career guidance. After school, I completed a Bachelor of Commerce degree, followed by a diploma in accountancy, and finally qualified as a chartered accountant with Deloitte in the early 1990s. After 17 years in the banking industry, I have achieved a milestone in my career, to have the privilege of leading a proud organization that traces its history back to the 1830s. I say fortunate because I believe that I am the exception, not the rule. To help you become the exception and not the rule, we have launched the My Future, My Career initiative. Through a series of interviews with industry professionals and educational specialists, we hope to paint a clear picture of a wide range of careers available to you, so you don't just follow your friends like I did. To complement the series, we will also be providing each of you with a booklet containing national curriculum information, career information, places to study, and bursary information. These tools will assist you in making an informed choice that will point you in the right direction to match your skills, aptitudes, and passions to market opportunities and get you started on your selected path. Nedbank's slogan is "Make Things Happen." This applies not only to the bank, but to each of you in your own lives. So use the valuable information you will receive today to plan out your own future and make it happen. If you plan carefully, set goals for yourself, and then work hard to achieve these, you can be anything you want to be. Take every opportunity you have and don't be afraid to be ambitious. Who knows, you may even be the CEO of Nedbank one day, or maybe you have already set your goals even higher.
Keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving.
Today we kick off with careers in the banking industry.
Yep, now everyone uses banks. We see them in the malls, we use their ATMs, they lend us money, they help us save. But have you ever thought of banking as a career?
After all, there are a lot of jobs available in the sector, from bank tellers to financial advisors to fund managers, administrators, marketers, lawyers. I could think of more, but that's just going to take up the entire day.
True, Pearl. Now it takes a lot of people to make our banking systems run smoothly.
So today, we're going to take a look at the business of banking. Perhaps you'll find that banking offers you the perfect career opportunity.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
Let's meet our first guest.
Yes, as head of talent acquisition, bursary and graduate programs, Mpho Chiombo plays a critical role in identifying and developing future leaders for Nedbank. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in communications from UJ and has several years' experience in the financial services and banking industries. Mpho is a subject matter expert in organization design, change management, talent management, organizational culture, and of course, leadership.
Well, from humble beginnings in Rockville, Ngase the Rock in Soweto, to executive in group technology at Nedbank. Lebohang Ndlovu attained a Bachelor of Commerce with honors in information systems and trained as a business analyst and consultant before joining a Nedbank Group Technology as a lead business analyst. Hard work and dedication have afforded her a position on the executive team.
Yes, welcome,
Impressive.
ladies.
Thank you.
Mpho, you've had quite an interesting journey to get to where you are. You've got a prestigious position of head of talent acquisitions at Nedbank. Can you tell us more about your background?
So my career started at Checkers ShopRite as a student. That was during my high school and tertiary days, where I started off as a packer, I became a cashier, then I became a supervisor. And at the end of my studies, I decided I needed to join the corporate world. That's when I started working for Old Mutual on their graduate recruitment program. It was an 18-month program. It really gave me a lot of exposure in terms of what the insurance world has to offer, how they come up with their products, working with the actuaries, and learning how they calculate those monthly premiums. It was an exciting 18 months in that space. And from there, I then moved to Accenture, where I became a management consultant. In those 7 years at Accenture, that's where I learned about leadership, organizational culture, organization design, and workforce planning. And it is through that career at Accenture that I got exposure in the banking world, as well as the financial services industry, working in projects in terms of introducing banking platforms at ABSA, working on straight-through processing projects at the Rand Merchant Bank, and also working in the resources areas. So I got an opportunity to work at Eskom, to work at BHP Billiton. I also did some work in Petro SA, and the focus there really was more around organization design, organizational culture, change management, as well as leadership. So those were really exciting times. And I learned a lot about myself and the resilience that I have as an individual. So after 7 years of that, I thought, let me try something different. And that's when an opportunity at Nedbank came up, the opportunity of becoming head of talent acquisition and bursars and graduate programs. It's been an exciting 3 years at Nedbank. It is an evolving setting in such that with the markets changing, we also find that we need to adapt as a company. And so through my career in Nedbank, I've had an opportunity to work with IT, or information technology as it's known. I've had an opportunity to work with the employer branding teams, as well as people in the clusters. So we've split into two areas. We've got people that are more client-facing, as well as people that find themselves in the background. And so I'm one of those in the background. But don't get me wrong, the back and the front are equally important.
Yeah.
You cannot have the one part working without the other. And so there's that collaboration with our social media teams, with our group technology teams, with our group marketing teams. So it's quite a diverse environment. And within HR in itself, you find that there are different portfolios that you need to engage with on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So that, in short, is my career.
I love it, in short. Now, Mpho, it sounds like a very insightful journey you've heard. Let's talk about your role exactly. What do you do in the bank?
So my role is threefold. There's the talent acquisition piece, there is the bursary world, there's also the graduate world. From a talent acquisition space, it's all about ensuring that we are identifying, assessing, and acquiring the right talent for the bank. We need to make sure that we bring the right people on board that are going to help us achieve our strategic objectives as a business. So that's what my role is in that space. I need to ensure that we've got processes and procedures that help our clusters to bring in the right talent. And so that's where we come in as a group function. From graduate perspective world, it's about making sure that when we go out there, we are seen as one Nedbank. So the branding thereof when we go on campus, and the look and feel, and that we're known as one united company. So we then facilitate the graduate program on behalf of all our clusters or divisions, as they may be well known out there. And the role there really is, again, making sure that we're bringing the right talent bottom up. So this time around, we're bringing fresh talent from universities of technology, because the different clusters actually require different talent. Some prefer your traditional universities, whilst others prefer people with diplomas because they come to the bank well-skilled and ready to deliver. At the same time, people from your traditional universities bring that skill and that passion as well. So you need a combination of that.
Yes.
The last area is that of bursaries. In the bursary space, we offer donations. We actually give bursaries where you don't have to pay back, but there is a set criteria. You need to achieve at least 65%, and your parents must be in a position where they're not able to take you to school. So those are the 3 areas that I look after within my portfolio.
Very interesting. Now, a bank is very big, and I find it very complex. I think it's a complex organization. Can you give us an overview of the major careers involved in making the wheels turn?
So careers in banking can be split into 2 parts. You get careers that are more client-facing, as well as your back-end or back-office roles. On the front-end side, we're really looking at our relationship managers, our portfolio managers, our sales team, our financial planners. And on the back side, we talk about information technology, we've got our marketing areas, we have human resources, quite critical because talent is scarce. And so we need to make sure that we're bringing the right talent on board, and we are actually enabling the existing talent so that it helps us achieve those goals that we've set for ourselves.
Yeah.
We also have roles in risk and compliance, very big in the banking area. We need to be able to manage the risks. We need to be compliant with the legislation set out there. What can we be without our information technology team? Really, they are the engine that keeps the bank running. We need our systems to be in order.
Yeah.
We have our traders. We have our, we also have our marketing team, as I might have mentioned. We have the social media team. The world is evolving again. We need to make sure that in terms of social media, we remain on top of our game. We've got roles in product development. We need to be constantly renewing our products and aligning with what the market is asking for out there. So those would be some roles at a high level. Chartered accountants, we need those. Engineers are some of the roles that we look at. Economists, valuers, and credit. You need people that are clued up in terms of credit so that we are offering the credit to the right people using the right criteria.
Yeah.
So careers in banking are broad. And we also have cleaners. They're just as important. I think it's key to see Nedbank as a holistic bank, because without the cleaners, you won't have the environment to serve your clients. Without the tellers, who are really our brand ambassadors, if they're not there, it means we cannot sell. So they need to be portraying a certain image out there to position Nedbank as a bank of choice.
Now, Osumpo, what happens when you find someone really good? Do you offer internal training or career development?
Oh yes, we're very big on that. It's important that we have career conversations with our people. That way we can develop them. That way we can ensure that they're ready for the next move. Because it's one thing to have talent and not know where their aspirations are going and what they want in the future. So we offer career conversations with your line manager, and this should happen in January and July. January is really for the whole year, whereas July is really mid-year, where we review the discussion we had in January. And through that, we are also known to be a good training ground because we offer a lot of development. We offer a lot of informal and formal training in the form of academies, as well as training that is aligned to your level. So if you're a junior, it would be more manager of self training. As you progress, manager of manager or manager of others training. So we're very big on that, and that's one area we're respected for as a bank.
Yeah. You mentioned that if a learner is to qualify for a bursary, they need to attain 65% as their average mark, and they need to be in a position where their parents can't afford to pay for their fees.
Correct.
How then is the learner able to actually apply for this bursary from Nedbank?
Okay, so you can apply online. You go to www.nedbank.co.za and our careers page. Alternatively, we do have forms which we distribute to schools They're also available at our head office. So for those who are able to come through to our head offices, we can arrange that they're delivered at a branch in your village or in your township. But yeah, those are the two options, through the forms, the physical hard copy, or you can apply online. And the program really runs from Feb, where we receive all the applications, and September we close again just to review what we've received, and that gives us enough time to get back to the students before the following year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, as we shift the conversation to the left to you, Lebo, I mean, as we mentioned, we intro that you from Soweto, and in a relatively short space of time, you've reached executive level in the bank. Take us through your journey, please.
Okay, so as mentioned, post my honours year, I started my career at the South African Revenue Services, where I joined as a trainee business analyst. So typically what a business analyst does, they are the bridge between the business as well as the technical team. So we would then take the requirements in terms of, let's say a business says, I want a system that enables me to speak to my clients in a certain way. We then take that and pack in such a way that the development team is able then to code that and make sure that system is developed. So at SARS, I was involved in the project where we implemented the large business center, which is at Megawatt Park right now, where we did both process and systems. So it was a center that helps our auditors to focus more on the large business side, so instead of just handling anybody. So to give them special attention, specialized skills and training, and also giving them the service that's required for them. From then onwards, I then proceeded to go consulting, where I consulted at first the Standard Bank, where I was part of a project team where we implemented the NCA at that time. So the process there as well, what you need to follow. So taking the act and translating it into the system, where the system would have to do various calculations to ensure that you've ascertained whether the client does qualify for credit or not. And then also still at Standard Bank was involved in the project where we had to implement a certain division, so processes or shared services. So how does that division support the greater business within Standard Bank? I then also consulted at ABSA, where we implemented a system for the customer complaints. So if customers have a complaint, they call a certain number, those queries are logged, and obviously the agents are scripted. So it was a combination of that. I then proceeded to go back to SARS, where I led a team of functional specialists who did work for SAP. So it was more managerial rather than actually being the business analyst itself. From then on, that's when I joined Nedbank, and I joined Group Technology, but in the Africa division. So in Africa, where we have 5 countries that we support, we have various systems. So the team is divided in such a way that each and every one of us have our own class of systems which support the business. So my team supports the channel, but so anything that the client interacts with to actually access services to the bank is what I take care of. So your ATM, your mobile, your POS devices and stuff. So my role entails ensuring that all the systems are maintained, so up and running, and also ensuring that we look ahead in the future, make sure that we deliver services that enable the bank to actually attain more customers going forward.
Now, Lebo, when we talk about information technology or IT, I would imagine you're not only talking about typing, email, or internet. How does technology work in the bank?
Okay, so like Mpho mentioned before, we like the engine for the bank. So anything that needs to be done or processed by the bank is actually sitting on technology. So you as a customer, as you walk in and you say, I want a current account. So even if you fill up forms, but it actually then captured on a system that will then keep your details as well as keep your balances. So there's the core banking application which keeps everything about a client, so every transaction you've ever made. And then there's also in terms of new technologies where your mobile, the app that you get on your phone, having to interact via the ATM, that's also technology. When you go to a shop and you swipe, that's technology. When you phone into internet cell phone banking, that's technology. So any way that has been electrified in terms of interacting or conducting business using technology, I think for me that is technology as opposed to just emails and your typing in your Microsoft Word and stuff.
And technology evolves every single year.
Yeah.
Is there new technology being developed within the banking industry?
Yes, there is. There's plenty. And I think also, as Mpho said, using social media, we actually tap into what people are thinking out there. So basically, so for instance, if you're thinking of, I wish my bank could actually have a system where if I walk past an ATM, automatically withdraws money. So based on that, we then pick that up and then we develop that to say, I mean, obviously meeting customer needs. So it's very important to always look ahead and be out there doing research development to see what is the people want. So you're always constantly moving, having to develop the next new thing, because if you just stay as people must come to the branch, you'll actually never get customers.
Yeah.
Well, I would love an ATM. I would like to walk past and just for it to give me money.
No, but then you'd
Just
run
free
away.
money.
No, it would be your money, not free money, okay?
Now, would you say is there a shortage of qualified people in IT?
I think there's plenty of opportunities, but obviously in the entry level it's more competitive as because it's probably your first level when you enter. But obviously as you go higher up, that's where there definitely is the shortage in terms of architects, strategists, business analysts, as well as maybe e-commerce specialists. So it depends on whether you specialize or not.
And what qualifications would a learner need to work in technology?
So again, depending on where you want to go, so you can either do a diploma where you get your MCSE or your networking design diploma, or you can actually choose to do a degree, which could be your BCom or your Bachelor of Science degree, where you can either major in computer science or information technology or architecture or e-commerce. So there's a varying degree, depending on which field you want to actually follow, it then determines what exactly you can study.
Now, does the bank offer any in-service training in your division?
Yes, it does. So together with what's done in Paul's side, there's the graduate development program where we take, obviously you must have had a degree, and then we just develop you in terms of the management side of things. And then there's the IT learnership business program where it's more technical, so you can learn to code in a different language. Besides that, there's also your other programs where you can actually do a MAP or a senior management program. Or if you identify a certain course you want to do, there's the training budget that then facilitates that for you. We pay for you to go to a certain college to go do study, obviously after hours, or even during the day, you take time off to then do that. But there's various training that we give.
Bring it back to you, Mpho. If I understand correctly, talent acquisitions, which is a department you're involved in, it falls under the human resources department. What exactly does human resources entail as a career?
So human resources as a career is quite broad because it's all about acquiring, it's all about making sure that we've got the right talent in the bank. And so we will have to get involved the rewards and recognition teams. We will require our industrial relations as well as transformation teams to make sure that we're transforming at the bank and giving people of all colors opportunities. We need to look at our organization development piece, which really talks to running Barrett surveys or staff surveys to make sure that we understand the pulse of the organization, what's the health of the organization like. And we also have a wellness area whereby we need to make sure that should anyone be going through a rough period in their lives, they're given the necessary support from psychologists to legal. Across the board, we just provide that necessary support. There's that area where I sit in, which is the talent management area, where we look at making sure that there's career conversations happening. We understand the bench strength of our talent. So do we have people that are ready to move into positions? The assessment piece. So over and above doing interviews, we also do assessments to provide that psychological and scientific evidence that we're combining the two in making a decision in terms of bringing people on board. We also have the people development team, very critical. They look at training both formally and informally. There's a belief out there that training is always in the classroom, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it's just sitting with someone like Lebo or myself, and you learn a whole lot more in that regard. So that's what we would provide in that space. So it's actually a value chain. If you look at the human resources area, it's no longer seen as just an office whereby you go and ask for a job, but you are provided support holistically, be it rewards, be it your well-being, be it your talent management portfolio, and making sure that we also have what we call the Leading for Deep Green, which is really about understanding team dynamics. That's an offering that we also have in the bank.
Yeah.
So all those are what make up the human resources area in this era.
Yeah.
Now, you touched on rewards. I'd like to ask, what are the most rewarding and challenging elements in your job?
So the most rewarding parts is when I'm able to help a business achieve its goals. The challenging parts is when one is not quite meeting the requirements correctly. And how we close that gap is through communication. So we hold regular meetings and make sure that there's an understanding of what business is expecting of us. And as you may know, the HR or human resources area is known as pink and fluffy. And we have to break that thinking out there because we are actually business partners that the business cannot do without. So that piece is what can be a bit of a challenge. However, we find ways of closing that gap.
Lebo, what's the future looking like for careers in technology?
I think the future is looking very bright. I think as people get more savvy in terms of technology, as customers, I think that's where the pressure is for us in terms of people in the industry to ensure that we're always developing new things. I think regardless of which industry you're in, whether it's banking, financial sector, or the resources industry, or the clothing industry, we have to find a way to actually bring our product to where the customer is, and that requires technology. So I think there's a lot that's going to happen in this space going forward.
What would you say is the most exciting thing for you about your job?
I think developing new products. I think, like I said, if a customer wants, when they walk past an ATM for the money to withdraw, I think that's what's exciting because you're always testing new things that haven't been done out there that people think it can't possibly work. But actually, as you develop, as you meet different people or different suppliers who have done this and have done that, it gets more exciting to think, I didn't know this can be done. You know, so I think for me, that's one bit I love about my job. But also in terms of just seeing how we meet the business expectation and needs. So when, for instance, the bank says we made so much profit, we get excited because we know that we enable them to meet that profit because our systems were up 24 hours, there was no downtime, and we're also making sure that we provide them products that enable them to get more customers.
Now, Mpho, you interact a lot with potential candidates in your field. Based on what you've noticed or the trends that you've noticed, what piece of advice would you give to the learners watching right now?
So you need to make smart career moves. You must make sure that they're strategic. What the youth tends to do is really job hop a lot. And that works against you. It's great at the beginning, getting all the money, but it's not just about the breadth, it's also about the depth. So I would encourage them out there that when they find jobs, I'm not saying that they should stay in the same role for 10 years. However, I'm encouraging them to stay long enough to learn a lot about that specific role so that in the future, when they want to be senior leaders of an organization, they can be considered based on their experience and the depth that they have in that particular subject matter.
Now, bringing it to Lebo again, do you have any advice to our young audience members watching right now and wanting to pursue a career in technology?
I think firstly, understand yourself, understand your strengths and weaknesses, understand what you enjoy. Don't choose technology because it's the next best thing or there's nothing else to do because you will get bored. So if you're analytical, if you like strategizing, if you like coding, if you're always wanting to test new gadgets, then maybe IT is for you. But if you like teaching, if your passion is motivating, then maybe IT is not for you. So it's important to understand yourself and know yourself. And then also secondly, also have passion, because I think that will take you a long way. Yeah. So as an individual, not just in terms of skills and academic, but as an individual, have passion, and your attitude needs to be right.
Yeah, and maybe just to add on to what Lebo said, we find that when we receive bursary applications, I don't know if it's the teacher saying everyone should apply for chartered accountancy, we get loads of forms that everyone wants to do the same, or they're applying for the same degree. Now that can prove to be a challenge because we can only allocate so many degrees towards a specific discipline. So they should try and apply across the board, and like Lebo mentioned, it's really about passion. So just don't apply for chartered accountancy because Lebo is applying for that, or Mpho thinks it's the great thing to do. Do your homework, visit career centers, and really make sure that you're following a path that you're passionate about. Yeah. Because if that passion is not there, you're not going to enjoy your career.
And, you know, I think what would be great is if banks actually develop programs where they actually go into the schools and tell these learners about the amazing careers available.
But, Pearl, that's exactly what we're doing here.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you, ladies, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. So I went to the bank the other day, and I went to the counter and I asked the teller to check my balance. Guess what happens next?
What happens?
Next thing I know, he pushes me over.
And Bufati.
Because I didn't have balance, you know.
Pearl, oh Pearl, lost her balance once again. Now, in a moment, we'll be joined by...
We're going to be joined by Z Harder, the head of specialized training programs for Nedbank.
And Bongani Sibanyoni, a qualified attorney and legal advisor at Nedbank.
Coming up.
Do join us.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
With so many career options in the banking and finance industry, how do you decide? Well, let's charter a course and let our next guest advise us on what they do at Nedbank.
Oh, wow, let's do that, Salah. Z Harder is the head of specialized training programs for Nedbank. Now, her role is to oversee the chartered accountant training and qualitative graduate programs within the bank. Z is a qualified chartered accountant herself and has experience in a diverse range of careers within the profession.
Impressive. Now born in Danji, a township outside Nelspruit, Bongani Sibanyoni took a bold step to change his circumstances. He managed to secure funding from National Student Financial Aid Scheme to study law. Now Bongani is now a qualified attorney and legal advisor at Nedbank and is giving back through his two non-profit organizations aimed at assisting young black people to better their lives.
I think your parents would be so proud of you right now, Zola. You are in a room with an accountant and a lawyer, and of course me. So count yourself very lucky.
Thank you so much, Pearl. Hello, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Fantastic. Now let's talk about you, Z. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So I'm a Joburg born and bred girl from a little suburb called Lenasia. Grew up there, did my primary and high school. Then came to a precipice in my life and I thought I wanted to do medicine and went to the University of Takis, realized it wasn't for me, and off to Wits I went to study BCom Financial Accounting. I then qualified. After that, decided to do my articles at a medium-sized audit firm. And my first corporate job was at Nedbank, and I haven't left since.
Oh, nice. So what is your current position at Nedbank?
So I head up the specialist training programs at the Nedbank, which means I look after the CA training program as well as the quantitative graduate program. So all the geeks out there.
So what does quantitative training mean?
So quantitative training is actually training of graduates who have a mathematics or actuarial science degree, and they're the ones who actually crunch the numbers at Nedbank.
Now, as a training officer in the Chartered Accountant Training Program, what exactly are your responsibilities?
So I'm responsible for making sure that at the end of your training contract with Nedbank, whilst you're doing your articles with us, you become a world-class chartered accountant. I make sure that you tick off all those boxes that SAICA, who's the foremost governing body of accountants in South Africa, that you are competent in all of the technical skills and professional skills they require you to be a subject matter expert in.
Yeah, and what qualification would a person need to enter the CA training program?
Okay. So you would have had to have completed your BCom Financial Accounting degree or equivalent, so you could have been a business science degree as well. And when you are in the year that you are doing your honors degree in either financial accounting or business science, or they call it CTA, that's when you'll apply towards the Nedbank CA training program.
Are you very selective about who you take in?
We are very selective, purely because we are a niche training program. We offer individualized, tailored rotations for our trainees, and they each get personalized attention. So we only take in 15 graduates at any given time.
We're going to bring it to you, Bongani. I mean, from a township in Nelspruit, Danji, to a legal advisor at Nedbank. Take me through your background in Nago education.
Archives. As mentioned, grew up in Tanchi, went to high school there at the high school called Maibuya High School. Then I got an opportunity to go study law at VETS through the government's financial aid program. I then enrolled for a law degree, which was actually quite funny because when I went to VETS, I remember that day when I went to register, I could either choose a law degree or an accounting degree. When I went to the accounting queue, it was very long. And when I went to the law queue, it was quite short. So I decided, you know what, I need to go back home today. So I'm going to go to the law side. That's how basically I ended up enrolling for law. I graduated. Then I worked for a bit for the Human Rights Commission, worked for Nedbank a bit. Then I did my 2 years of articles of clerkship with the biggest law firm in Africa, Edward Nathan Sonnenbergs. Once I finished that, I got promoted to associate. After that, got promoted to senior associate, and then that inevitable call came from Nedbank saying, we want you back. And you know, I couldn't say no, they made me a good offer. And that's why I ended up at Nedbank, which is where I am now as a legal advisor.
Tell us a bit about the type of law you practice at Nedbank.
So currently, I do commercial law, which has lots of other things involved in it. I specifically specialize in what is called competition law. You might have heard on TV recently where companies are getting fined by what is called the Competition Commission or Competition Tribunal. That's where I'm involved, basically. So I make sure that Nedbank doesn't get fined by the Competition Tribunal or the Competition Commission. That's my job. So I specialize in assisting Nedbank to make sure that they basically comply with competition law.
So you just mentioned that you do competition law. Are there any other types of law practiced in a bank?
Most definitely. Yeah. Actually, as a lawyer within the bank, you can literally practice any type of law. I think except criminal law. Unless your directors get into trouble and they want your help. So basically, like I said, commercial law is one facet of it, and then you have litigation as well. And in litigation, that's where you normally have the advocates that get involved. You know those guys that wear those long robes and they look all fancy in front of the judge? Those guys are the litigation guys. In a banking environment, you actually get a chance to do the litigation side of law as well as the commercial side. The commercial side might involve drafting of agreements, you know, when there's an opinion, for example, within the bank, we want to know how this is interpreted in the Banking Act. That's what we do from a commercial law perspective. When we get sued by someone, we run to the litigation guys and say, you need to go to court and represent us.
No one likes to get sued.
I don't think so.
But why does the bank need lawyers, though?
So, first of all, to save on cost, because you don't want to run to the attorneys, the external attorneys all the time to do your work for you. So what you want to do is you want to identify problems before they become problems and sort them out within the bank. Because once they become problems, most of the time you end up going to external attorneys and they will charge you an arm and a leg. But if you have the attorneys within the bank, then they are able to find where the problems might be, solve them within the bank, and instead of sending contracts out to be drafted by external counsel, we draft the contracts ourselves. So the bank does need lawyers, lots of them.
Now, is there a difference between working as a lawyer in a law firm or in a bank?
I think there is a difference. The major one that always comes to mind is at a law firm, you are chasing fees, which means that you need to bring in clients in order to maintain your practice, as it were.
Yeah.
In a bank, on the other hand, basically your client is the bank. So you work for one person, which is Nedbank, whilst if you were an external advisor, you'll be working for all the corporates that basically you will get work from. So that's one of the major differences. At the bank, also, you do get a bit more sleep if you work at the bank. As a practicing attorney, you have to put in probably a lot more hours to be able to continue running your practice and make your profit and please the partners. But you know what? It's an enjoyable profession. Whether you go to the banks or whether you go to as an external counsel, it's just an enjoyable profession.
But it's more challenging to work in a law firm.
It's a bit more challenging.
Okay.
Bringing it back to Z, I mean, we talk about working at the bank here. Like, what would a graduate do at the bank once they enter the program?
So if a graduate were to join Nedbank, what we do is we ease them into being the life of a banker. So on the CA training program, they go through an extensive induction period where we facilitate management and professional skills with them. We teach them what it's like to be in Nedbank, what's our strategy, what's our values. So we're all on the same page together, and we get the graduates to understand what their role is and how vital they are in Nedbank.
Yeah. So are there any tests they need to write to qualify to become CAs?
Much like my peer here, chartered accountants do also have to fill in their time.
Yeah.
Once they've completed their postgraduate degree and they've got their articleship with Nedbank, they'd have to write an initial exam with SAICA called the Initial Test of Competence. 18 months later, after they've worked hard and they've learned hard, they write another professional program exam, which gives them entry to their assessment of professional competence exam, which is the last exam they'll write.
Yeah.
And hopefully after that, they qualify as a chartered accountant through the Nedbank CA training program.
Now, do you employ any of these candidates as soon as they qualify?
Most definitely. That's the whole point of having a program, is to have pipeline of talent, and also to fill positions that were previously vacant. Our retention rate is very, very high. We have an over 80% retention rate. Because we do understand that you need to be happy where you are in your career. And sometimes there's just not that fit between you and the company that you're working for. And 3 years in a training program is a long time to be unhappy. And we are very much for our employees, and we want to make Nedbank a great place to work.
Yeah.
And so therefore we give them the opportunity to either apply for positions within Nedbank or to test the waters outside.
Yeah, and what opportunities are available for a CA working in the finance and banking sector?
So the kind of roles that they could fulfill are various across the bank. Not to mention that our group CFO and group CEO are both CAs, so there's their job vacancy available in a few years' time. But they span. You could be a financial analyst where you crunch all the numbers, you compare to our peers and see how they're doing. You could be a credit analyst or a credit manager where all of the corporates come to you and they ask for advice on, could they get an extension on their overdraft, if they could get a loan for a property they'd like to build. We also have strategy analysts, which are very important because you obviously need finance and to know where your money is at to develop a strategy of where you're going forward. So there's a lot of strategy analysts who are CAs as well.
Bongani, what is it like to practice law? Is it really rewarding, honestly, or is it just lots of hard work?
I think any job that you do is normally hard work. I think if you want to succeed in any job, whether you're a sportsman or an attorney, for example, you have to put in the hours. You have to put in your 10,000 hours, as they normally say. But it is a very rewarding profession. I think it's a very intellectual profession as well.
Yeah.
You need to be a great thinker. You need to read a lot because you need to know what your opponent is thinking all the time. So if there's something new that comes out, if there's a new case that came out yesterday, your opponent might have already read it, so you must make sure that you read it first. So it is a very rewarding profession.
Yeah, I think you just mentioned traits that would make a successful lawyer. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I think you need to be very resourceful. Sometimes clients will come to you asking for an answer that does not exist. They will come to you thinking that you are an accountant. Well, you're not an accountant, you're a lawyer. Sometimes they'll think you're a pastor, but you're not a pastor. So you need to be resourceful as a lawyer. You need to know where to look most of the time because answers are always there. Somebody has done it before. So you need to know where to look. The passion, it goes without saying. Sometimes you become passionate once you start doing the job. Most people go in because they want to make money. You start loving it and you become passionate about it. But passion is very important because reading for long hours, it's not a nice thing if you don't like reading.
Yeah.
You started 2 non-profit organizations. Please tell us more the motivation behind these.
Basically, coming from the background that I come from, realizing that there's a lack of opportunities as well as information for people who live in townships. Like I grew up based, I never had information. So I decided to start one of my nonprofit organizations called Project Yes I Can to basically go to the townships, get a couple of guys who've qualified, who grew up in the townships. They're now engineers, accountants, and all other professions, and say, let's go to those kids in the high schools. Let's motivate them. Let's give them the information that we never had when we were starting in the same high schools. So basically, that's one of the organizations that I started, and so literally help those kids basically manage to get to varsity like we did and have the opportunities that we now have. My other one, which is I Am Black Excellence, basically what this organization is doing is we are going to the townships again, to young Black people who are doing extraordinary things in their townships, whether in education or whatever other sphere where you're doing something extraordinary. And we're saying, we want to thank you for helping your township. We want to recognize you. We want to reward you. And we want to inspire other future leaders to do the same thing that you are doing. So that's basically why I started the 2 NPOs that I have.
Yeah, that's very impressive and well done on your efforts.
Thank you.
Now, to aspiring lawyers watching right now, what advice do you have?
It's hard work, but it's a lot of fun. So all you have to do, sometimes you have to open the book. You have to be a bookworm for a week. But, you must have lots of fun when you're in varsity. I think varsity was my greatest time.
Yeah.
So I don't even want to think what I'm going to go to university. But always have lots of fun. You know, there's time for studying. You know, there's time for putting in the hours. But most of all, it's your time to discover yourself. When you're in high school, you're still young. Once you get to varsity, you get a chance to discover yourself. So work hard at doing the law, but also, you know, have fun, enjoy yourself. And don't fail, please.
Yes, please don't fail. And Z, what advice do you have for aspiring chartered accountants?
For aspiring chartered accountants, I'd say you've got to love what you do. You've got to have a savvy for numbers. You've got to have a savvy for interpreting financial statements and thinking out of the box. So if you're that kind of a person, if you're smart with heart, if you're able to give back to the community, like when Gani said, you've got to have out of the ordinary thinking.
Yeah.
If you're proactive rather than reactive, then a career in accounting or law is where you need to be.
Z Bongani, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Much appreciated. And good luck with the program that you guys are doing.
Thank you so much. Now let's see if you are the brightest pencil in the box.
Is the following statement true or is it false? You have to be over 16 to be eligible for a bank account.
The answer coming up just a little later. Coming up after the break, Dr. Terence Sibiya and Simon Greenberg talk about looking after their clients' money.
All of that right here on My Future, My Career, brought to you by Nedbank. You really don't want to miss it.
Make sure that we take it to the top. Keep it.
Before the break, we asked,
Is the following statement true or false?
it is false. Yep, the answer is indeed false. You can open a bank account at any age, but will need a parent or guardian's consent if you are under 16 years old.
Yes, but up next, more about the exciting world of banking. Check
it
this
out.
out.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
Okay, so now we know who looks after the inner workings of the bank, but who is responsible for looking after investors and clients and making sure that their money is safe and as risk-free as possible?
Our next guest, the most certainly qualified to teach us a thing or two about investment and risk.
Indeed, Ms. Mudiadi. Now, Dr. Terence Sibiya has a wealth of experience in investment banking, both locally and globally. Now, he earned his BSc degree, a master's and doctorate in instructional system design and information technology. He is currently the executive head of coverage and origination for Nedbank Capital, Nedbank's investment banking arm.
And it's not Mudiadi, it's Mudiadi. Get it right. Simon Greenberg is a qualified actuary with a master's degree in mathematical statistics. His official title is Head of Wholesale Models in the Group Credit Risk Management Division at Nedbank. But let's find out from him exactly what that means.
Gentlemen, it is indeed an honor to have you in studio.
Pleasure to be here.
Only a pleasure. Now, Dr. Sibiya, let's start with you. From South Africa to USA and back. Back with a bag full of money. I'm joking.
Qualifications.
Qualifications. Take us through the journey.
Well, it's been an amazing journey for me. I think first and foremost, it's a pleasure to be here chatting to you about this because it's always important to share our story. I started off really interested in how money works. So it's an interesting starting point, just that curiosity. How does money actually work? And so throughout schooling, my schooling career, from my high school right through to my college and postgraduate studies, I had that niggling question. How does money actually work? What is the value of money? Why is money so important? And so that led me through what I chose to study, and then also how systems work. What are the systems that underpin the whole banking and financial system? Computers are pervasive and they're everywhere. So the background and the academic background that I have mixed nicely with my professional training and then also my personal ambitions and personal curiosity.
Now, you transitioned from systems design and information technology to investment banking. How was that transition?
Well, it was easy for me because I started off from the point of curiosity. How does this all come together? Why is money so important to the world? So learning and having that basis of how systems work, how systems come together, how IT works, how all the computers from your cell phone to our laptops, and also there's a nice term I learned, phablets, how those work now. Those are all systems. And then on top of that then is that currency, that money, that commodity. And marrying those two for me has been such an interesting journey. I can't tell you how exciting it's been.
Can you tell us broadly what exactly investment banking means?
In broad terms, clients need advice. They need advice on how to grow their businesses. They need advice about how to warehouse some of the risk and how to invest their money from the businesses they own. So from an investment banking point of view, that's what we offer.
And what does it mean to warehouse the risk?
Warehouse risk means simply if you go into any transaction, there's always a risk that the person that you lend to might not pay you back. So somebody needs to manage that risk to make sure that the credit that you give that person is payable at a particular time, that they'll basically pay you back and won't disappear. So investment banking manages those risks, whether it's large transactions or even small transactional. That's a warehousing of risk in broad terms.
Terence, are there different types of investment banking?
Yes. Broadly speaking, there are different types of investment banking. In terms of the one aspect of just providing investment banking advice, in other words, you want to grow your business and I offer you advice, that's called corporate finance, an element of investment banking. And then there's a different type. You want money, you want to borrow money, but it's a structured kind of borrow, not just a normal loan that you would get from a branch. It's a little bit more complex than that. Those are the different kinds of investment banking products that Nedbank offers.
Can you tell us about the complexity of it all?
Yeah, it can get quite complex. It can get quite complex from one, I borrow you 100 million rands, but then on the back of that, I do what's called hedging that 100 million in the interest rate market, because over the life of that loan, let's say I loan you 100 million for 5 years, over the life of that loan, interest rates might go up, they might go down, exchange rates might go up or down. So it's my job then as an investment banker to make you aware of those risks so that what 100 million is to you right now and is payable to the bank in 5 years' time, you fully understand. So those are the different elements of investment banking that investment bankers offer to the market.
So you could possibly be paying 200 million rands back.
Well, it depends.
It's a possibility.
It depends how we price that loan, of course.
So how does coverage and origination then fit in?
Coverage is the front-facing unit of the investment bank. Basically, we liaise with the customers, we liaise with the clients. So it's our job to deliver the franchise of Nedbank. It's our job to deliver that feeling, that client value proposition to the client on behalf of Nedbank. So we don't really sell the product. We talk to you and listen, ask you, Pearl, so how's your business? How's everything going? What do you need? And the more you talk, the more I can reconcile with myself that actually what she needs is a loan, or actually she might need nothing from Nedbank at this point. The business is in a steady state. So ultimately, that's what the coverage and origination function does.
Okay.
Well, my birthday is coming up and you can give me that 100 million whenever you
Give.
not loan. So let's talk about your role at Nedbank. What exactly do you do?
So on a typical day, what I'll do is I'll see a few clients. As I've said to Pearl, I'll sit down and just listen to clients and talk to clients about how their business is going. And these are typically chief executives, sometimes financial directors of companies that will tell me, my business is going well, this is what I need, or we hit a rough patch, and in about 6 months' time, we might need a bit of an overdraft. And then I listen and engage them and understand their businesses more. Because the more I understand their businesses, the easier it is for me to select the appropriate solution for them. And it might just not be a product, it might be advice. Sometimes it might involve a loan, sometimes it might not. So my primary role, that's what I do on a daily basis. And then second to that, of course, I'm sitting on the executive of the bank, so I do have some responsibility to manage people. There's a team of people I manage, so I listen to them too. What are the issues, be they human resource related or business related? That involves a typical day for me.
Now, investing people's money sounds like a huge responsibility that can also be very nerve-wracking. You know, is there a lot of pressure to get it right?
Absolutely. Investment banks across the world are under pressure.
Yeah.
There's huge pressure. There's been an evolution in investment banking in the past couple of years since the financial crisis in 2008. So it is, and rightfully so, one of the most regulated industries, be they in terms of the Financial Services Acts that regulate, the Credit Act, and then also globally, there's been a shift away from this fast-paced investment banking, savvy Wall Street kind of behavior to more of a client solutions and looking at what the client needs instead of what the bank needs. So it's a very high-pressure environment. It's very competitive. It's cutthroat. But hey, you know, if you need a bit of a rush, investment banking is where you want to be.
Yeah, and someone's got to do it.
Somebody's got it.
And I'm sure you would need guys like Simon to make sure that the risk was low when they're getting that money.
Absolutely. So there are checks and balances. Every banking financial services institution must have checks and balances as required by law. And then also it's for the clients. So clients want to know that their money is safe, that their risk is well managed, that the money they put in is safe. And that's where Simon comes in.
So Simon, you know, rumor has it that it's really, really tough to be an actuary. What does an actuary really do?
Well, I don't think it's tough to be an actuary. It's tough to become an actuary. But actuaries are financial professionals who specialize in forecasting of financial risks and quantifying financial risks. Actuaries work in a variety of fields. Historically, actuaries typically did work in pensions or investments or life and general insurance. In the 21st century, we now moving more into a general kind of risk management and risk quantification space where we believe the profession can grow the most and add the most value to a variety of financial organizations.
Tell us about the qualification. Was it as hard as they say?
Well, it depends, I suppose, how hard you work and how mature you are about it. For me, it was very, very tough. It is a professional qualification. So, you go and you do your undergraduate degree or a postgraduate degree, but that by itself does not qualify you as an actuary. You have to join a professional body, whether in South Africa or overseas, and then to pass the actuarial exams. Typically, there are about 16 exams to write. If you do reasonably well at your university degree, you will get several exemptions for those. So best case scenario, after university, you would have to write about 3 to 4 exams to qualify as an actuary.
Now, would you say, is there a lot of maths and statistics involved?
It is, absolutely. Look, as an actuary, in order to quantify financial risks, in order to mitigate them, in order to assess all the potential outcome of a particular event, you would have to be very, very good at mathematics or statistics. Not just in terms of knowing this theory, but in terms of being able to apply this theory to real-world situations. So certainly being an actuary involves a lot of maths, a lot of stats, but also lots of softer skill, a lot of understanding of how the business works, and just, I suppose, general knowledge, because without the general knowledge, you cannot forecast the potential outcomes of a particular course of events.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what exactly is your current position at Nedbank?
Well, at Nedbank, I'm head of wholesale model validations at Group Risk. So Group Risk is a unit which is outside of the business within Nedbank. It is, and the mandate of Group Risk really is to manage the risk throughout the bank in an independent fashion. Look, I'm sure the viewers know that we as a bank, the major business of ours is lending money to various organizations or people. And as part of that lending, we need to quantify what the credit risk of a particular transaction is. So how likely is that person or that organization not to repay the money back to us?
Yeah.
And in order to do so on a large scale, we have a lot of clients, we have a lot of organizations that we interact with. We need a raft of different models that effectively help us assess that risk of non-repayment. Those models generally are built and managed within the business units. What we do in Group Risk is we check and make sure that all the models are working appropriately, that they have been constructed in line with internal requirements and regulatory requirements, and that if there are better ways of building the model, or there's new developments and new research that comes in, we will then disseminate it down to the business unit to help them with building more effective and more predictive models.
Interesting stuff. Yeah. Hey, I'm just listening. I'm in awe. Now, Dr. Sibiya, back to you. Would you say this is a rewarding career for you?
Absolutely. Since I started in this career of investment banking, I've met a multitude of different people from different sectors, from different industries, both young and aspiring businessmen and women. And it's been a very rewarding career for me, not just provide financial services and solutions, but then also to interact with a multitude of different people in different career paths, both professionally and then also in terms of people's personal ambitions you find in a bank. Mm-hmm. So I've had a fantastic run, and long may it last. I've really had a good run. And I think people often think a bank is a dry and boring place to work. It has such a multitude of opportunities. You do not have to be in the front line, perhaps like I am in the sales kind of environment, interact with people all the time, entertainment, events, making sure clients are comfortable with the brand and the markets which you operate, mm-hmm. but then also to get down to the hard mathematical and nitty and gritty of operational stuff. There's an opportunity for everyone in that continuum. And so I found myself in that space, and I'm on a good note, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, and we're feeling the positive vibes, like you're so
Yeah.
excited about what you do. Now, if somebody is loving seeing you getting excited and they want to do what you do, what qualifications would they need to get into investment banking?
Again, because the investment bank is also a very broad microcosm of our society, so we will have people that will study sociology and become investment bankers. We'll have people that study computer science like myself and become bankers.
Yeah.
But the typical subjects that you would want to have are economics, mathematics, accounting, at either an advanced or a basic level. And then you can go on to the other social skills, perhaps maybe psychology. And then if you take those as a basis, you have to love numbers. You have to be in the comfort zone with numbers. You have to be comfortable with numbers because there's plenty of numbers you work with in the bank. And then also above and beyond that, you have to believe in yourself that you can become a banker.
Now let's talk about those young investment bankers you're talking about. Are there any programs offered by the bank to develop these young want-to-be investment bankers?
Absolutely. The bank offers a multitude of potential entry points, one of which is a graduate program, which is a pretty set program where we actively recruit from universities across the country. That's one where you'll come in and then you'll be exposed to all aspects of investment banking, from the front line, there's the sales part or the origination part, right through to the credit and the kind of middle office and back office and professional support staff. And then there are also other methods. People become chartered accountants, and then they go through a chartered accountant program, top students, as we call them, and they go through a particular track because they already have a definite interest in becoming a chartered accountant. That's one identity point. And then the most simplest point, just apply.
And how does one apply?
Well, simply go to the website and you can see an applications tab. Click on that and there's a step kind of guidance which you can put your CV in and apply, and then it gets into the system and somebody will get back to you. Or look out, we will advertise publicly, either in the print or digital media, our recruitment drives when we go to particular communities, whether at the universities or particular schools in the areas in which the bank operates. So it's widely publicized. If we don't come to a neighborhood near you, let me know and I'll tell you where the next application, next recruitment drive is going to be.
Yeah, and are there a lot of opportunities in the banking environment for investment bankers?
Absolutely, there are. As the world turns, banks are not going anywhere. I mentioned earlier that the world of investment banking is changing, but that's because the world is changing. The requirements from banks, the requirements from clients are also evolving. So absolutely, there's a space for everybody in investment banking, but it just takes that grit and that absolute commitment to being successful professionally, and most importantly, having personal ambitions as well.
Now, Simon, we're all about opportunities. You know, where opportunities are, that's where we want to be. So talking risk management, are there a lot of opportunities in risk management?
Absolutely, particularly within the quantitative risk management. I think we have to be realistic, and within South Africa, the sort of standards of school mathematics and science education is particularly poor. And because of that, we see a knock-on effect. When the guys go from school to university, we get very few enrollments into sort of maths degrees, so applied maths, statistics, mathematics, actuarial science. And then very few really good graduates come out of university with the sufficient knowledge to really do well in a quantitative risk management field. So certainly, if somebody who's listening, who's good at maths, or relatively good at maths, who believes they can get much better, and who's prepared to put in the hard work and be excellent at that, will certainly have a lot of opportunities within the quantitative risk management field.
Yeah, not only aim for the 30% pass mark.
Right. Speaking of which, I mean, what would someone need to qualify in order to work in your division?
Look, there are no fixed qualifications. In order to become an actuary, you typically need an undergraduate degree in a mathematical discipline. Then you need to write the professional examinations and pass those, and get suitable work experience to get your designation. Now, obviously, well, not obviously, but being an actuary offers you a variety of opportunities. So you don't necessarily have to work in a particular field like mathematics or applied mathematics. You can work in pensions, general insurance, life, investment, healthcare. So it's quite a broad qualification. The other advantage of an actuarial qualification is that it is a global qualification. So if one day you decide to go overseas, you don't really have to write the exams again.
Yeah.
But for someone to come and work with us, we look at strong quantitative graduates. That's specifically my team, because what we do is quantitative work. Most of them in the general risk management, yes, absolutely. Chartered accountants, economists, guys like that who've got the appropriate experience they tend to do that very well as well. So no specific route, but I think, whatever undergraduate degree you are going to be doing at university, my suggestion is if you can include mathematics into it, because it'll be a massive, massive advantage to you later on in your career.
Yeah. Now, I'm one person who believes that, as much as the job is challenging, it also needs to be fun. You need to enjoy it, So can you tell me more about the fun part of your job and of course, the challenges that come with it as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a quant. I'm a quantitative analyst at heart. I've always been that.
Yeah.
And I love crunching the numbers. I love building models. I love improving them. So that's something that, really is important to me personally. Something that's quite a lot of fun, specifically what my team does, is also the interaction throughout the bank. Because we oversee credit risk models across the bank as a whole, we tend to be able to interact with guys like Terence, with senior credit or business executive, to make sure that the models do what they're supposed to do. And that is the other thing that I get excited about. The things that I don't like about my work is really, I suppose, and that will happen in every job, is the routine. I mean, there's a lot of repetitive stuff. You have to get stuff, constantly out, and that is, that you'll have in any sort of career. And I think the sooner you learn how to deal with that, and the sooner you become efficient at dealing with this routine, repetitive tasks, the more successful you're going to be later on in your career.
What is that important thing that a learner should do if they're interested in taking part or following this career path?
Well, I think the first and foremost thing is to start taking your mathematics very, very seriously and start putting the effort so that you are good at maths.
Yeah.
I think there are huge challenges in South Africa in terms of teaching standards. I think a lot of the kids just don't get the right level of teaching or support or instruction to be good at maths. But I think that can be overcome. A lot of the universities have an extended program which you can do, where first year you really catch up on whatever you missed during your school, and then you go into the normal sort of degree stream. I mean, you don't have to become an actuary to be successful. You don't have to become an actuary to do well in terms of your career and remuneration and whatever. A lot of the guys who work with me are not actuaries. They're statisticians, they're mathematicians, and they do very well. And if you're passionate about actuarial science, or you want to work specifically in perhaps pensions or life, or you want the global professional qualifications, by all means go for it and work hard. But either way, you will need to be really, really good at maths and have a very strong level of maths, both at school and at undergraduate level, to do what I do.
Now, Terence, the learners are watching. They want to be pointed in the right direction. Do you have any advice for those who want to pursue a career in investment banking?
Absolutely. Research begins yesterday. Start looking up exactly what an investment bank does. There's a multitude of information. There's an abundance of information of what an investment bank does. All over the internet, in your library. Go to your nearest bank and ask the people there, what do you actually do here? And find out a little bit more about how a bank actually fits into your community. What is that building doing there, and why is it important to the community? Yeah. The more you inquire, the easier it becomes for you to develop an interest in aspects of the banking fraternity. So it's easy. It all begins with you. You have to take it seriously. Get your studies and get your grades up. Make sure that you've got the subjects we've talked about under your belt. Get that foundation, and then keep that inquiry mind very fertile, because in the banking system, we need minds that are consistently testing the system and improving our services to our clients. So be inquiring, do your research, and even go to your local branch and say, what do you guys actually do here? It all begins with that one interesting question. What do you actually do?
Interesting.
Yes, very
wonderful
interesting
stuff, Simon. And Terence, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
And all that rich information.
A wealth of knowledge we have gathered from this discussion.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Let's give our grey matter some exercise with this brain teaser.
Here's the brain teaser. Listen very, very carefully. You invest 100 rands in a company. You earn 10% in your first year, but you lose 10% in the second year. Now, at the end of the second year, do you have more? Do you have less? Or do you have the same as you started with? This seems very, very simple, but I know this one's not going to get it. So think about it really carefully.
That's what you think. See what I did there? Now, the answer is coming up after this.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
Life is about being more savvy with your money. like doing online banking. Eugene, what are you looking for?
Doing a bit of online banking, but I keep getting the feeling I'm being watched. You can never be too safe, you know.
Eugene, Nedbank is the only bank with a unique security feature called Approve It, so you get more secure online banking.
Heard that? Safe, baba.
Make more secure online banking happen with Nedbank Savvy. Visit any Nedbank today.
So we spoke earlier, right, about a bank being so much more than just banking.
Yes, so our next guests are legends in the industry, and they're going to give us insight into exactly what that means.
Definitely. Thulani Sibego heads up what is considered to be one of the most important components of any business: marketing, communication, transformation, CSI and public affairs areas for the Nedbank Group. He started his marketing career at Gillette South Africa in 1993 and has since managed brands such as Gillette Series, Oral-B, Braun, Polaroid, Olay, Pantene, Head & Shoulders, Vicks, Vodacom and Hollard. All of these brands are brands that we're all familiar with. In addition to working in South Africa, Thulani has held regional assignments based in the USA, the UK and Switzerland.
Yes, now Thabo Holo has been in the retail banking game since 2002, where he started off as a branch manager. He quickly worked his way up the ranks and has served as regional business manager for both Capitec and Deba banks. Thabo joined Nedbank in 2011 and is making his mark in developing new value propositions for Nedbank and its partners.
Yes. Now, welcome, gentlemen, to the show. Mr. Sibego, you have headed some of the biggest brands that we know. I'm very familiar with all the brands that I've named today, which is quite an achievement. And all of these achievements you got at such a young age. Can you tell us a bit about your background and where your love for marketing and communication comes from?
Thank you, Pell. First of all, I was born and raised in Soweto. And when I finished high school, I did my degree in accounting. And I thought throughout I was going to be an accountant. But when I completed my degree, I had my first job in marketing as a marketing assistant. And there has been so many changes from the time I started to where I am. And the privilege is that I've been given opportunities that I could never dream of when I was a young boy. But because of hard work, integrity, and just enjoying what you do, I've been able to be granted the privilege of working with such amazing brands.
What are your current responsibilities at Nedbank?
I'm responsible for group marketing, group communications, and corporate affairs.
And what does that entail?
Within group marketing, we have several areas that include advertising development. We have media management, which entails deciding where we show our ads, which station, whether we're going to be on SABC TV1 or ETV. We also have sponsorship management. As many people would know, we have the Nedbank Cup, we have the Nedbank Golf Challenge. Sponsorship management makes those decisions as to which ones do we have and how will they help the brand. We also have other things in marketing. And then in communications, we have primarily external communication, where Nedbank, when communicating certain messages to the broader public, we have that responsibility, and also internally within the bank. And then in corporate affairs, we have the Nedbank Foundation, where Nedbank deploys the CSI funds to contribute to building the community, among other things.
Yeah, and how are they all linked?
When you look at the three, the common thread that you find is that together they help Nedbank to build its image and its reputation to the customers and to the broader community.
So how important is marketing and communication in a business?
Because I'm in marketing, I have to say it's very important. And the reason why I say that, any business that would like to have clients has to do some marketing. And the simple way I look at it is that people won't buy your products if they don't know about them.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. People should know about the products. That's a function of marketing. Also, people cannot buy products that are not available. That's also a responsibility of marketing. And in the first place, even to develop products. Marketing, it's its responsibility to understand what people want, understand what else is offered by the competition, and then try to identify that as this business, what is it that we should produce that is better than that business, and yet it's needed by all these customers.
True story. Now, would you say there are a lot of work opportunities within the industry?
Yes, I would say so, because if you assume that it's true that every business that sells needs marketers, then there is indeed always a need for marketers. But obviously, there's certain things that one can do to make sure that the opportunities that are available, they can fit with their aspirations.
And what qualification would one need to work in your division?
For marketing, there's different ways you can be qualified. I guess the most obvious is a marketing degree or diploma, where you would learn about consumers, you would learn about pricing, you would learn about how to create demand, you would learn about how to have competitive strategies, because as we know, you want to sell to Pearl and to Zola, somebody else also wants to sell to Pearl and to Zola. So for you to win, you have to develop something that's better. So that's what you learn in a marketing degree. But I believe that any commercial degree will let anybody be able to start a marketing career.
Now, coming to you, Thabo, your background is in retail banking. What exactly is retail banking?
Retail banking is a division within Nedbank broadly that deals specifically or engages specifically directly with the clients. That's where we offer our products and services directly to the customers.
And what are your current responsibilities at Nedbank?
My responsibility is twofold to a large extent. Firstly is the designing of the value proposition to the customers. That informs how the products should be designed and developed, how the distribution channels should be designed and developed, and that's the first one. The second portion is to manage the relationship that Nedbank Retail has with these black business partners and leveraging out of those relationships to create new markets.
So developing new markets and new opportunities must mean new products and new branches. Is it challenging to open up a new branch, and how does one go about doing so?
Certainly it's challenging to open new branches because it's not just about the physical structure of the branch. Firstly, as Thulani has alluded to, you need to understand the market first. So through the process of market research and customer research, we need to find out if we're opening the branches at the places where the customers need them. That's just the conceptual part of it. And then comes the part where we have to physically build a branch. That's where we rely on things like geographical information systems to point us in the correct direction. Where exactly are we supposed to open the branch? Then you're talking about physically building the branch. That's where you need IT skills, you need shop fitting skills to make sure that the branch is finally operational.
Yeah, and who decides what products get offered to your retail customers?
In the case of retail banking, we have a product development team. The product development team not only develops the product, but they also package the products. But their packaging and development of products is largely dependent on the information that they receive from any other or most departments. That includes, for instance, segment, which will inform them in terms of the insights from the customers. Yeah. Depends on IT whether or not they are able to develop that product. It depends on legal and lawyers in order for them to develop products that are in compliance with the laws and the regulations of the country.
Now, a lot of people are employed within the retail banking environment.
Yes, so can you tell us about some of the major careers that are available within the environment?
No, absolutely. Retail banking is very, very broad. We're talking about skills that are required from your IT skills to develop products, for example. You need lawyers to make sure that we are compliant with the laws and the regulations of the country. You have economists that work within the retail industry. You have chartered accountants. You have marketers who work. So it's a broad church, if you look at it that way, of different skill sets and careers.
And within the actual branch, are there a lot of career opportunities?
No, absolutely. Starting from administrators to branch managers to tellers, inquiries clerks, we have a number of careers within the branch itself. But broadly within retail also, there's a lot of careers that are available for anybody to go into.
Now, this is an
For
aspect,
Thulani.
yeah, and I think it's a part of the job that's very important. You need to enjoy what you do. So I want to know if you enjoy what you, it really does come across like you do. So am I right in saying that you love what you do?
You're very right. I thoroughly enjoy what I do. I count it a privilege to wake up every day, to go to the office, to do what I'm set out to do.
Yeah.
And I guess the best part of it is that a big part is about understanding what our clients need. And they're different. And those needs change over time. And working with people like Thabo and other people within the bank to say, if this is the product or a service that has been developed, how best do we introduce this service to the public so that when people look at it, they say, I want to bank with Nedbank. And that's just one part. Another time of the day, I'll be talking to the head of the Nedbank Foundation to say, in the Eastern Cape, we're opening a school and we are providing this to the community. I'm going to speak and address the community. And then another time, I'll be at the Nedbank Cup match where we have a sponsorship activity. So those are the fun parts of the job. But also, you know, it has its own challenges.
Yes.
You know, when you work in marketing, you don't just do advertising and all the fun stuff. You also, at my level, have to think really seriously about people's careers and leading and inspiring people. You also have to think about managing budgets to make sure that what we do helps to generate profit, not to erode profit.
Thulani, you mentioned that one thing that excites you the most is figuring out how best to pitch a brand to the clients, you know, and what comes to mind immediately is what you guys did with Zahara, the musician, the whole collaboration. What was the thinking behind that? Who were you talking to when you had Zahara, the musician, as your brand ambassador?
Okay. Thanks for that question. One of the things that we pride ourselves as Nedbank is that we are a bank for all. And when we make that claim, you have to connect with everyone. And what we realize is that different people appeal to certain portions of the population. If I'm trying to talk to young Black South Africans, I cannot pick somebody who is foreign and without connection. And Zahara has been a phenomenon. And her story, it's about make things happen. She grew up in a relatively basic background. And through her talent, her determination, she's been able to become a superstar that she is.
Yeah.
And then we look at our brand, we say, our brand promise says, make things happen, which means we enable people to achieve their dreams.
Yes.
You look at the story of Zahara, you say, that story is the best demonstration of make things happen.
Yeah.
So you try to look at what our story is, you find people who exemplify that story, and then you connect the two, and I believe it comes out powerfully.
Yeah. So Zola and I were thinking that, you know, if you want to make your brand cooler,
we are just,
if you're going to make it cooler, and if you wanted to appeal to the younger audience,
Yes.
you know, the high school goers, university students.
Yes?
We
So
are the
tell and
best.
Zola.
Yeah, available,
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll definitely consider
We are
that.
cool, okay.
Oh, wonderful.
Now,
Yeah.
we did mention, you know, the big brands that you've worked with, very, very big brands. So I want to know what major factors you would say have contributed to your success.
Wow, that's a difficult question, but I'll try and answer it. Firstly, I think, you know, when you come into any career, you have to be prepared to work hard.
Yeah.
Because what you offer, you are not the only one who offers it.
Yeah.
Somebody next to you or somebody elsewhere most likely has the same skills as you do.
Yeah.
So you have to set yourself apart by just working diligently and exceptionally, so that when you finish doing something, somebody says, no one could have done it better. Two, you have to be open to learn. I remember when I came out of university, I thought, I'm a graduate, I know it all. And in my first week at work, I was told, just go and check prices at Pick n Pay. And I was like, me checking prices, really? But I can tell you, from packing shelves in the store and doing other things which at the time didn't make sense as to how it all adds up together, I've realized how much those learnings have become handy later on. So being prepared to learn is very important. And also looking out for opportunities. I've been able to do different things because I was adaptable and willing to make changes. As I told you, I come from Soweto. I've worked in Cape Town. I've worked in Boston in the US. I've worked in London in the UK. I've worked in Geneva in Switzerland. To go outside of your country, sometimes it's risky and concerning, but if you are willing to say, this presents an opportunity, I'll do it. So there's many things, but a lot of it comes down to character. Do you work hard? Are you willing to learn? And are you willing to adapt? Because there's just so much change. And adapting, just lastly, is so critical. I mean, from selling a toothbrush to selling insurance at Hollard, that's very different. Yeah. And now I'm selling Kiona, the Nedbank products. If you're not adaptable, you won't be able to make those transitions.
Yeah, you won't be able to make things happen.
Yes.
Now, Tabo, where would a learner start if they were interested in a career in retail banking?
Ideally, formal education. Start with getting your maybe financial qualifications, either a degree or a diploma. And after that, go into a working environment and get on-the-job training. Firstly, go into what you want to do, how you want to be in the future. Yeah. That is a good start.
Does the bank offer internships?
No, absolutely. We do encourage learners in particular to visit our website, www.nedbank.co.za, and look at the opportunities that are there. We also encourage them to go through to BankSETA and look at the opportunities that are offered by BankSETA.
Is there a specific personality type that would suit retail banking?
Retail banking is very broad, so there's no specific personality type. So you can be a conceptual person, or you can be an analytical person. You will be fitted into a particular role that suits your personality. So there's no specific personality that is specifically designed for retail banking. You can be conceptual and work in marketing and segment. You can be analytical and work in economics and finance.
And what's your personality?
Fortunately, I'm the shy type on the conceptual side, but I'm so well trained that I'm adaptable to both roles. So that is required from me in my current role.
Yeah, okay. I'm not buying the shy type story.
But would you say there is opportunity in the segment?
No, absolutely. In segment in particular, you're looking at a broad requirement in terms of the skill sets. We're looking for economists, we're looking for analysts, we're looking for, even including psychologists. We have people that work with numbers, that specialize in numbers. There's people that are in marketing that specialize in marketing, but all of them housed under segments. So there's a broad category of careers that you can choose from.
Yes. Would you agree, Thulani?
Yes, definitely. And there's an overlay here. I mentioned about understanding your consumers. Within segment, what the team does is to say, not all 18-year-olds are the same. There are some who have these interests.
Yeah.
There are some who prefer these channels of communication. So in segmentation, this is where you split your market and then you choose which one you target and communicate appropriately, and also offer products and services that appeal to each of the segments.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, you both sit on the bank's transformation system. What exactly is transformation and what does it aim to achieve? I'll start with you. Okay, Thulani, you go.
Sure. Yeah, we sit on the Nedbank Group Transformation Forum. Nedbank realizes that we operate in South Africa. There's a huge transformation journey that as a country we are on. And we see ourselves as a citizen of South Africa and having a part to play. So within Nedbank, we have identified a role that we can play. And for things to happen in our involvement in transformation, we have a forum internally where we come together from different parts of the business to share the objectives that we are trying to achieve, to assign each other different roles that we are going to play, and also learn from each other. But in a nutshell, we look at how we can create transformation opportunities. For example, education is one of the key pillars that we believe will transform South Africa from people who did not have much and ultimately for them to have a better life. In the same way, for certain careers that were not accessible to certain groups of people, we do provide, he mentioned internships and graduate training programs. So there's different things that we look, but at the core of it, we say that as a bank, we are a citizen of South Africa. As a bank, we realize the challenges of South Africa, and we want to play a part in transforming the South Africa to be the South Africa that we all desire.
True that. Now, Tabo, is there anything you'd like to share or add?
Absolutely, particularly when you look at the retail part of banking. We also talk about access to financial services. Yes, there's a lot of people that still do not have access to financial products and banking services. And part of the transformation agenda is how do we take banking to the people? How do we ensure that people access the products that Nedbank in this case offer? And that is part of our transformation agenda.
All right, Thulani and Tabo, I need you guys to riddle me this and riddle me that. Are you game? Are you keen?
What's riddle me that?
Well, you're going to find out
listen
now.
to this one. Before this, we wanted to know the answer to the following question.
And this was the question. You invest 100 rands in a company. You earn 10% in your first year, but you lose 10% in the second year. At the end of the second year, do you have more, less, or do you have the same as you started with? Seems very simple, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. But is it really?
Tabo?
Do you have less or do you have more? Or is it the same amount?
Let's give it a shot. 10% of 100 rands is 10 rands. Mm-hmm. So at the end of year one, you will have 110 rands. Mm-hmm. And assuming that you don't invest and you don't get interest in the second year, then you will lose 10 rand and remain with 100 rands. But if you earn another 10% interest in the second year, which is 11 rands in this case, and you lose 10 rands, then you will remain with 111.
So with all that said, less or more?
So you have more. He's saying 110. So you basically have more.
Assuming that you have a 10% interest in the second year.
Me.
Let's hear.
If you have 100 rands and you earn 10%, it becomes 110. If you lose 10% of 110, it's 11, so you end up with 99, which is less.
So you have
Well,
99. So you saying less, you saying more.
Yes.
Did you say 10 rands or 10% in the second year?
You said 10%.
10%.
10%.
Okay, that
So you're saying more. You're still going with
that,
more.
That will change my answer to remain with, yes, you will have less.
Less.
You will have less.
Okay.
You would have lost 11.
And you know what?
Gentlemen, well, the answer is less. If you start with 100 rands and 10%, you will have 110.
Yes.
That's what they said. If you then lose 10% of 110, you lose 11 rands. That's what they said.
Yes.
Leaving you with 110
Yes.
minus 11 rand. That's what they also said.
Yes.
Which equals to
99 rand.
1 rand less than when you started.
So these men know their stuff.
They do.
But before we wrap it up, do you have any last words for the students watching right now? Let's start with you, Tabo. Do you have any advice?
No, absolutely. If you want to go into retail banking in particular, there's a couple of things that you need to take into consideration. One is the passion really for dealing with clients, because that's where you interact with clients. So if you like just hiding behind and not interacting with clients, this might not be the career for you. That's firstly. Secondly, Thulani alluded to honesty and integrity when it comes to work. You're working with people's money. So honesty and integrity is absolute paramount. Thirdly, read. read. Keep yourself up to date with the current affairs, know what are the new trends, know what is trending in the economy, know what is trending in the financial market, know what is happening at the moment. Then you'll be a success in retail banking.
Yeah. What advice do you have, Tulani?
Well, I would say if you want to choose a career, consider three things. Your abilities. What are you able to do? What are you gifted at? And rather choose something that you are good at. It will help you in that competitive space.
Yeah.
2, look at, as he said, what are you interested and passionate about? On those days when you don't feel like really getting up to do this, it's your passion that will just lift you out of your bed.
Yes.
Thirdly, look at opportunities. Sometimes it happens that you have an ability to do something. It happens that you are passionate about it. But if there are no opportunities in that space and you cannot earn a decent living if you are seeking an income, then it may not be a career that you want. So abilities, interest and passion, opportunities. If you can tick all three, chances are your choice of a career is a good one. And I hope it's marketing, but even if it's not marketing, do what is best for you.
Yes.
Wise words from wise gentlemen.
Yes.
Thank you so much, brothers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow, absolutely amazing. Now, well, as we've seen, banking is an exciting and challenging profession that can offer big rewards.
Yes, definitely. There can be lots of pressure and responsibility. After all, you are looking after people's money.
Indeed, but there's also the satisfaction of helping people realize their dreams. So if working in the banking sector is your dream,
then go for it. Make things happen.
We take it to the top. We got to keep it moving.
And finally, to complete our broadcast, we're joined by Thabile Adams, who's here from the University of Johannesburg's Psychological Services and Career Development Department. Now, Thabile will run through some tools on how you can choose the right career.
this week Thabile will be dealing with the world of work and how the work environment impacts on the choices you make for your career.
Yes, over to you, Thabile.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
What is the world of work? The world of work is a world that's also known as the marketplace. It's a world in which we get to match who we are, interests, abilities, values, personality with what we do. It's a world in which we spend most of our productive hours in our lives. It's a world in which we enter from the age of 16, 18 until the age of 65. What is a job? A job is a piece of work, either mental or physical, that is done as part of one's occupation for an agreed price. It is a post of employment and can be full-time, part-time position, or a contract. What is a career? A career is a person's progression or general course of action through life or through a phase of life, as in some profession or undertaking. An occupation or profession, often requiring special training, followed as one's life work. If we simplified these two definitions, we could say that work is any form of mental or physical exertion towards an expected outcome. A job is a piece of work for which one is paid or has a contract, and a career is a series of jobs which indicates progression and growth through one's lifetime. Did you know? The world of work has changed over the past 10 years due to internationalization, technology, changing structures of organizations, and cultural diversity in the workplace. What are the requirements to get into the world of work? Depending on what you want to do and how quickly you want to do it, you may need specific requirements for some careers and at times not. Currently, the most minimum requirement is a grade 12 certificate. In some cases, a trade certificate, for example, an electrical trade certificate or boiler maker certificate. In some cases, for a medical degree, if you want to pursue a career as a doctor or an engineer, you will need an engineering degree, and so on and so forth. There are some cases which you do not require educational qualifications, and in this case, training can occur on the job. What type of work can one do? There are endless types of careers, and they can be grouped in various ways. Let's look at a few. There's natural resources, construction, finance, health services, educational services, physical sciences, the arts and culture, entertainment, recreation and sports, and finally hospitality. Obviously, there's a whole lot more which are not mentioned. There are many different work opportunities. Here are a few. Learnership. In a learnership, you learn as you earn. They combine theory and practice, which culminates in a recognized qualification within a specific field. The sector education and training authorities are responsible for learnerships, and the training is intended to prepare you for employment or self-employment. Volunteering. This is working without any form of payment. One benefits greatly from volunteering because you gain experience while empowering communities, and it may lead to many opportunities. Entrepreneurship. This is where you create your own opportunities and build a business. Entrepreneurs are people who are comfortable with uncertainty, taking risks, and are courageous. Low-paying service sector work. This is jobs such as cleaners, plastic packers, and construction workers. And finally, the other opportunity is high-skilled professional jobs. These require higher education and training. For example, engineers, psychologists, scientists, and so on and so forth. So, what does this mean for me as I prepare to enter the world of work? You need to understand there's lots of competition in the workplace, and you need to use all the skills which you have acquired throughout your lifetime. No one has a crystal ball to tell you what to do and how to do it, so you should take ownership for your own career choice process. This involves self-insight, researching, planning, goal setting, and reflecting. It's also important to consider all options and be flexible in order to achieve your career goals. How do I become employed? Once you've chosen a type of career, you need to start applying for work. Normally, this follows a process of looking for vacancies, applying by sending a covering letter and a CV, attending interviews, negotiating, and signing the contract. However, many people become employed through networking. Networking is a process of building relationships with people and exploring how you can benefit one another. Sometimes this leads to a person becoming employed by the other within the organization they work. How do I do job research? There are 4 kinds of ways: paper, PC, people, and participation. Paper involves printed information which you can get from the libraries, career centers, or bookstores, or newspapers. The PC, this is doing your research through the internet or online recruitment sites. People, this involves networking, and participation involves you going to the company to do job shadowing as well as volunteering in that company to discover, is this really what I want to do? How do I know if a job is right for me? Searching, gathering information may not be glamorous, and it takes effort, but really, it's the best way to know what's best for you. When you make your final decision on your dream job, you will also know the reasons why this is the best job for you. Rather than assumptions based on your imagination, you'll have a solid reason why this is the best career for you in your field at this time. Often people talk about work ethics. What do they mean by this? Work ethics is belief in the moral benefit and importance of work, and it's an inherent ability to strengthen character. Employers expect their employees to have a good work ethic and be committed to the importance of the job. Poor work ethics is when one does not care about doing a job well because they do not value the importance of the outcome. How do we know what work will be meaningful to us? In order for us to feel work is important to us and strengthen our character, we need to possess self-insight and the ability to reflect. Self-insight assists us in making the right career choice. If we are to make a good choice, we are likely to find work fun, meaningful, and fulfilling. The ability to reflect enables one to continually evaluate and carefully consider our actions or our work so that we can begin to understand what gives us meaning in life, what we enjoy doing, and what we are good at. By reflecting, we can make good estimations of what will make us happy in the future. I hope this has helped you to understand the world of work a little better. Good luck in making the right career choice.
Keep it moving, make sure that we take it to the top.
I'm certain that the information and tools that you have received today will make a positive difference to your future and your career. As you sit here today, your most valuable asset by far is your future earnings stream, and that is your choice. My final advice to you is to use this information to the best of your ability. Go out there and ask questions. Contact the appropriate people. Investigate your options and never give up. You are the master of your own destiny. Like Nedbank, you too can make things happen.
Keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it, keep it, keep it.
If you enjoyed this broadcast, please speak to your educator to find out about the other topics, and don't forget to register.
We hope you've got a whole lot more clarity on the amazing opportunities ahead of you as you carve out your career path.
So please do drop us an email and visit our website and our Facebook page. Details on your screen.
Yes, now my final advice as you head into the world of work is quite simply, make things happen.
Tell them, Pearl, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back.
You can bank on that. Bye.
Cheers.
We got to keep it moving, make sure that we take it to the top. Keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it, keep it, keep it moving. We got to keep it moving. We got to keep it high. We got to keep it moving. Make sure that we take it to the top. We got to keep it moving. We got to never stop. We got to keep it moving. Make sure that we take it to the top. We got to keep it moving. We got to keep it high. We got to keep it moving. Make sure that we take it to the top.